All right, it's 10 o'clock, and I believe we are recording and streaming. So this is Chair French convening the regular business meeting of the Kansas Corporation Commission for Thursday, January 23rd, joined by my colleagues Commissioner Keene and Commissioner Keither. On today's agenda, we have 19 consent agenda items, and we have 2 noticed items. And I do anticipate amending the agenda to add 1 additional noticed item for a telecommunications matter at the end of the agenda. So with that, though, we will start with our consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had the opportunity to review the consent agenda with 19 items. Let me ask at this time if you have any questions, beginning with Commissioner Keither.
No questions, thank you.
And Commissioner Keene.
No questions for me, thank you. I would note that I am recusing on consent agenda item. Noting that recusal, I would move the approval of the consent agenda.
I'm sorry, I missed which item you mentioned.
It's number 1.
Oh, 1. Okay, very good.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, noting Commissioner Keene's recusal on item number 1. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The consent agenda is approved. We will now move to our noticed items. Our first noticed item is in docket number 24, GIME 102 GIE, and this is a proposed order regarding guidelines for transmission line siting criteria and priorities. And our presenter for this item is Mr. Aaron Bailey. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Commissioners. This general investigation was opened in 2023 to consider principles and priorities to be used in future transmission line sitting proceedings, given that large transmission line projects are expected to increase. Also, complex routing studies are submitted to the Commission without the benefit of understanding beforehand potential concerns the Commission may have when considering a proposed route. There were about 20 interveners in this matter, consisting of utility transmission developers, advocacy groups, and with most of them being very active throughout the process. Staff was able to gather the perspectives and suggestions from these parties through multiple rounds of feedback, and ultimately recommends the adoption of a guidance document to be used in line sitting proceedings, which is contained in the proposed order. Utilizing all that feedback, staff narrowed the focus of the investigation to determining standardized criteria and weighting factors that typically arise in electrical transmission projects that impact landowners in rural areas. Criteria list items were considered, as well as the weight each criterion should be given. And there was ample input from the parties and a wide array of perspectives and viewpoints that were raised, which staff used and weighed to develop a list of routing principles and standard criteria and weights contained in the proposed guidance document. The standard criteria list has factors ranging from residential proximity to pasture impact and length along roads, for example, and all of which are perennial issues in siting proceedings in rural areas and focus on property owner and public impacts. Also, a utility applicant could propose other criteria or differing weights, since each proposed route is unique, as long as the applicant demonstrates the reasonableness for any deviation. This stems from the Commission's statutory duty to consider the necessity and reasonableness of a proposed line and best protect the rights of all interested parties and those of the general public as provided in KSA 66-1,180. Some of the criteria have a predetermined weight on a scale of 1 to 10. For example, residential proximity is a 10 or a top criteria for consideration, while others can be determined by the applicant given the characteristics of the route. One general theme from the parties was flexibility, given the 120-day time frame from application to approval or determination, which the guidance document allows for, in the ability to deviate based on the reasonableness depending on the characteristics of the project. The routing principles were developed with consideration and weighing of the developers and advocacy groups' perspectives and common concerns of the general public, such as maximizing the distance of the transmission line from residences and businesses. The proposed order in the 4-page guidance document will require an applicant to submit proposed agricultural impact mitigation protocols, landowner protocols, and oil and gas industry protocols with any such application. While not previously required, this will help the Commission's statutory directive to best protect the rights of all interested parties and those of the general public. So, and also, while usually submitted during the application process, routing studies will be required utilizing the standard criteria and weighting and routing principles contained in the guidance document. So again, finally, the Commission has the ability to designate this as precedential pursuant to KSA 77-415. And with that, I'm open to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thanks so much, Aaron. Well, we appreciate the presentation and the rundown. At this time, let me open it for any questions or comments on your presentation or the item before us. And I will begin with Commissioner Keither.
No questions for the presentation, which I think is thorough and good. Just want to make sure that Commissioner Keen's okay with the oil and gas section, since that was a criteria for him.
Well, at this time, we'll turn to Commissioner Keen. Any comments or questions?
I'll address Commissioner Keither's question straight out. I think this is an outstanding document. I think the underlying R&R, it's in its third incarnation, I believe, and it really is very holistic in its approach across the broad range of issues that have a bearing on transmission and siting issues. Let me step back just a minute. I hope that answered your question, Commissioner Keither.
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you, Aaron. I join the chair in thanking you and Commissioner Keither as well for the overview. It was an excellent overview. I want to take particular note of the efforts of our staff in going through, as I say, the three incarnations of this R&R, and in particular, Justin Grady and our engineer, Paul Owings. They have spent a lot of time and effort in trying to take into consideration all of the input that they received from the various interveners. Pretty extensive process. So our thanks are out to them for the outstanding effort and the follow through that they demonstrated throughout the course of the vetting process on this. With respect to ordering clause C, which designates this order as being precedential, I would offer just a few brief comments. I think giving recognition to the significance of the issues that are addressed in the order provides a sufficient basis for designating the order as being precedential. The order's impact undeniably is widespread and it's very consequential. This order, I think, is much anticipated because it's been kind of long in coming about to fruition. So given the number of interveners, the current sensitivity of virtually all issues that pertain to transmission, and the extent of the vetting process here, this is, in my judgment, not an order that's in the ordinary course. And I would respectfully suggest that it does deserve, as we're doing here, the special recognition of being designated as being precedential. Having said that, I would move the approval of the order.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the order as described in this docket. Is there any further discussion on that? I'll just add, subscribe to a lot of comments of my colleagues here, and would especially call out not just our staff, but all of the parties. A lot of people spend a lot of time on this, and this is a very difficult subject. This, we're looking at the state of the world and recognizing that, gosh, a lot of infrastructure is going to need to be built in the coming years. And we know of some concrete things that we already know that we're going to be asked to cite, and there will probably be more on the way, but there are trade-offs that come along with that, and we've been having this big discussion with stakeholders over the last few years about how to make those trade-offs. I hope that the forum that we provided with this investigation was helpful. I mean, I certainly, in reading all the viewpoints of the parties, I found it very helpful to hear all the perspectives and to see how constructively everybody worked in recognizing the realities, but also working to help us develop some priorities, but also then to recognize that there does need to be flexibility on the back end, that no two projects are the same, and that we'll have the option to adjust however it's in the best interest of Kansans for each individual project. So the credit doesn't go to the commission here. The credit goes to our staff and to all the stakeholders that gave their time and resources to participate in this. So I believe we've ended up with a very good work product here, and hope it will be helpful, and hope that it does provide some guidance that makes these proceedings go a little more smoothly, even though I recognize they're always going to be difficult, as I've said before. Transmission line siting proceedings are some of my least favorite proceedings, but it is a duty that our agency has to fulfill. And future commissioners, maybe not even the three that you see before us, future commissioners will be statutorily tasked with fulfilling that, and this provides them some guidance along the way. So those are my comments. I expected to be a little shorter, but I think we're all in agreement. So with that, if there are no further comments on this item, I will ask for a vote. We have a motion and a second to approve the order. All in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The order is approved. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move to our second noticed item. This is in docket number 25 TRAM 248 PEN, and this is a proposed penalty order in that docket. Our presenter for this item is Mr. Asan Latif.
I think actually Patrick is going to be presenting this.
All right,
So I'll let him go.
that's totally fine. We will turn to Mr. Patrick Hurley.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners Keither and Keene. Appreciate the opportunity to appear before the Commission today. I appear on behalf of Commission staff. The docket and proposed order before you for consideration arise from a compliance investigation of Temperance Logistics, LLC, a commercial motor carrier operating out of Liberal, Kansas that hauls grain, feed, hay, and livestock. The special staff investigator conducted a compliance investigation on this carrier from July 23rd, 2024 to December 12th, 2024. They found 28 violations, and the order before you sets forth those violations in 7 counts and a total of penalties in the amount of $5,350. I'll briefly summarize those violations as follows. Count 1, a $500 fine for failing to require drivers to prepare a record of their duty status, 18 violations. Count 2, $1,500 fine for failing to conduct annual commercial vehicle inspections, 2 violations. Count 3, a $500 fine for hauling loads over the statutory weight limit of 85,500 pounds, 1 violation. Count 4, a $250 fine for failing to attend a commission-sponsored safety seminar and commission docket 22-512, 1 violation. Count 5 is a $1,500 fine for failing to ensure that each driver subject to random alcohol and controlled substance testing had an equal chance of being selected, 2 violations. Count 6, $100 fine for failing to obtain a DMV report on each driver every 12 months, 1 violation. And count 7, a $500 fine for failing to maintain evidence of inspectors' qualifications, 3 violations. Staff believes the fines are appropriate and recommends approval of the penalty order as presented. We're available to answer your questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hurley. Appreciate the presentation. Are there any questions on this item, beginning with Commissioner Keither
No questions. Thank you.
and Commissioner Keene?
No questions. I move approval of the order.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the order as described in this docket. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The order is approved. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
With that, we come to the conclusion of everything written on our agenda, but as I mentioned, I'm going to amend the agenda to raise one additional item for our consideration. This is in docket number 25 UTDT 283 TAR, and it is a proposed order extending deadline for commission action until February 24th, 2025. And this is a fairly routine order, it appears, but because we're adding it to the noticed item, Asan, could you give us just a very brief description of what this order does?
I can do that. The order before you extends the deadline for the commission to consider an application for tariff revisions by Brightspeed Companies of Kansas. The application has a 7-day timeline and was filed on Friday, January 17th, just before the holiday. And given the shortened week and the short time frame, staff requires additional time to review and analyze the application. And this order allows staff to do that. I'm available to answer any questions you have.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions on this item, beginning with Commissioner Keither
No questions.
and Commissioner Keen?
Not for me either. I'd move approval of the order.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the order as described in this docket. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The order is approved. Thank you, Asan.
Thank you.
With that, we have now come to the actual conclusion of our agenda for today. And if there is no further business for us to transact today, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all. Take care.
Take care.